Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
That's right. My name is Mike Piroworski, coming to you live from the East Coast. That's the coast with the most, from the co-host with the most, here on The Rundown, 2A Views, Conservative News. And Craig, guess what day it is?
It's raining tacos from out of the sky. Tacos, no need to ask why. Just open your mouth and close your eyes. It's raining tacos.
It's raining tacos out in the street. Tacos, all you can eat. Lettuce and shells, cheese and meat. It's raining tacos. Yum, 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 yum. It's like a dream. Yum, 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 yum. Bring your sour cream.
Okay, Mike, I have to ruin our Taco Tuesday. I am so pissed. Tell me if you get this, and maybe this doesn't happen in Florida, but in California, I keep getting like text messages and phone calls from realtors who are like, hey, I was driving by your property and I was wondering if you wanted to sell. Now, mind you, the same guy from the same number 3 times this week has sent me the same freaking message. And I've told him, if you got $1 million, otherwise, lose my phone number. And he keeps calling.
I get the texts all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and I always send the gif of Mr. Dr. Evil going $1 million, and that's what I send them every time.
Exactly. Well, here's what's going to happen next. I'm going to say, sure, why don't you come by? Let's talk. And, then I'm going to wind up giving them, I'm going to read them the riot act. I will not engage in violence against them, but I'm going to have them come all the way out here. I'm going to waste their time. I'm going to, I'm going to try not to curse them out, but I'm definitely going to waste their time. Seeing as how they keep wanting to waste my time. I'm sitting here having a good time, and I'm like, why do I keep getting these messages? Anyway, I'm sorry.
Say, I've got 205 acres of property here. You know how hard it is to find a body on 205 acres?
Hey, buddy of mine knows where I can find some gators to handle it.
Take him over to the hog pen. Let him go in there.
There you go. Sweet.
Are you a citizen? I want to take you down to Alligator Alcatraz.
I'm sorry. I literally saw that. The message literally came across as we were beginning the Taco Tuesday theme. And I'm like, really, dude? I mean, AI is really starting to piss me off.
Yeah. You know, speaking of Taco Tuesday song and AI, I really want to hear that song done in a dark country fashion. I want to hear that. I want to hear it done like that.
In a dark country fashion.
Oh, you haven't seen the whole dark country trend, taking songs and putting them in the dark country?
I have not seen that one. I have seen the 1950s blues, taking hip hop music and doing a 1950s blues.
I see the dark country trend. Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you what. One of the things I will say that I enjoy about some of these songs is it shows you the songwriting skills of some of these folks in terms of writing lyrics. Some of these rappers, because you think, well, rap ain't really. I mean, is it really music? It's if they're talking, not singing. But the reality is when you hear it actually sung, it's like, ooh.
Wait. Now, you mean our rap, not that today's stuff?
Oh no, I'm talking about our rap all the way up. Well, yeah, not up to today's stuff. It's hard to turn that into anything because even AI doesn't understand what they're saying.
No. Yeah. I saw Phil Collins in the air tonight, done in dark country, and was like, wow. So, yeah, I guess it knows I like the dark country stuff. So. Or to hear the remakes. I'm not a dark country fan. I just like hearing the remakes.
It's like at what point are we just gonna be like, look, we don't need musical artists. We just let AI do it.
Yeah.
Well, but all AI is copying what already exists. So the problem then is, how will we ever have anything new if all it's ever doing is copying what currently exists.
Oh, easy, because we're raising an ignorant generation, and they'll have no clue that it's not new.
That is true. You do have a point. You do have a point there. I keep having to correct some people. Like I've taken to the point where now I actually have to fact check memes before I post them or before I share them, because you do have people who literally pay no attention to facts. Absolutely none. And I don't want to be a sort of person that is perpetuating lies or knowingly perpetuating misinformation or disinformation. Right. But some people I'm like, okay, especially if it sounds too good to be true, Mel Gibson and was it Mel Gibson and Denzel Washington and Sylvester Stallone are starting a new movie studio and they're taking over Hollywood. Yeah, that's not true.
I did see we're getting another Lethal Weapon movie from Mel Gibson and Danny Glover. Have you seen this?
I have seen that. But even with those, you don't know, because they come out with these trailers that, man, I'm like,
oh yeah, you definitely have to check them. You definitely have to fact check them to find out. Yeah.
Yeah, but I spent as much anyway. I liked it when I could just enjoy my memes and not have to not get home. When my memes weren't homework. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
But now they are. But in any case, we're having a good time. We're gonna have a good time with this today, and
we're gonna have a good time.
Gonna have a real good time. But before we get started in the program, I want to go ahead and make sure that we give a shout out to our sponsors.
That's right. Let's say hi to our good friends over at Hitman Industries. That's hitmanindustries.net. If you want to get yourself some AR barrels, they've got them. Rifle caliber, pistol caliber, any length you desire, any caliber you desire, they have them available. That's hitmanindustries.net. California Republican Assembly fighting a good fight behind enemy lines. Now you can take part in California's future today. If you want the best in tactical concealed holsters on the market, get on over to hogholsters.com. That's HAWG holsters.com, hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown. That's all one word, no spaces, all caps. Get yourself a nice little discount. And if you want the best in field gear, tactical gear, web gear, law enforcement, security, fire, EMS, personal security, whatever it may be, get your group together, get your agency together, place an order at uscombatgear.com, where you get everything except the gun.
That's right, folks. These are our sponsors. They bring us to you so that we can bring you to them. Do us a favor, do them a favor, do yourselves a favor. Go ahead and check them out today. Spend some money with them. All you have to do is follow the links in the description of this program. And when you do spend some money with them, make sure you tell them it was the guys over at The Rundown that sent you. All right, let's go ahead and get into today's topics. This first one here is going to be kind of interesting because, well, you have a lot of people who are talking about, who are basically coming down on Donald Trump for basically dropping drone strikes on all of these on these drug boats. And I think it's important for people to understand some of the reasons why Donald Trump is doing this. And one of them I think has been made one of the things I think that is very important for us to point out is that there's a lot that is going on here that people don't really want to think about or don't want to talk about. And that is the dangers that have been created as a result, quite frankly, of fentanyl being let into the country, just for lack of a better term, willy-nilly. In other words, there is absolutely little to no control over what is happening and what's going on. And it's causing significant problems and significant number of deaths here in the United States. And in fact, here's a press conference that was done with the press secretary, and it kind of points out the dangers of fentanyl that we've been dealing with.
On stage, we have, this is 180 kilograms. It represents, not real, of fentanyl, okay? So this represents 1 kilo of fentanyl. In its pure form, this 1 kilo can kill 500,000 people. The 180 there, in pure form, could kill 90 million people. That is the population of California, Texas, and Florida. That's what we're dealing with in our country. That's why angel moms go around the country. That's why Donald Trump has taken such a hard stance against cartels, securing our borders, getting these gangs and drugs out of our country. But look at that. That can kill 3 states in its pure form. That should terrify.
So now think about that. Now, that is the reason why Donald Trump took an unprecedented step today and had Fentanyl declared to be a weapon of mass destruction.
That's why today I'm taking one more step to protect Americans from the scourge of deadly fentanyl flooding into our country. With this historic executive order I will sign today, we're formally classifying fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction, which is what it is. No bomb does what this is doing. 200 to 300,000 people die every year that we know of. So we're formally classifying fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction.
And that's pretty much what they're reporting over at NPR. It says Trump designates street fentanyl as a WMD, escalating the militarization of the drug war. It says here, President Trump on Monday signed an executive order designating the street drug fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction. Quote, the manufacture and distribution of fentanyl, primarily performed by organized crime networks, threatens our national security and fuels lawlessness in our hemisphere and at our borders, the order declared. During the event in the Oval Office, Trump said the carnage fentanyl has caused in American families is worse than U.S. deaths in many wars. Says the fact that in fact Trump's numbers are wildly, or they're trying to say his numbers are wildly inflated. According to a report from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, fentanyl killed roughly 48,000 people in the U.S. last year, a 27% drop from the year before. So in other words, the media is trying to portray this as, well, this is really no big deal. Fentanyl isn't really killing people. I'm like, 48,000 people is no drop in the bucket.
Yeah, 48,000 is okay, Craig. Evidently, they got a limit, and it's 48,001. 48,000 deaths from fentanyl. They're okay with. This is brilliant, Craig. You and I were around. Remember when President Reagan declared the war on drugs, and we started to combat the war on drugs at their origin point, and we've been struggling for 45 years to try and defeat the war on drugs, and it hasn't happened. And guess what? This non-politician guy finally came up with an idea of how to win the war on drugs. One, you declare those that are carrying them as terrorists because they're not in military uniform and they're bringing objects into the country that are killing tens and hundreds of thousands of people. And then you take the drugs themselves and declare them as a weapon of mass destruction. And now you watch every boat that tries to approach loaded with these drugs, and frigates, cruisers out there, and destroyers launching surface-to-surface strikes, taking them out. This is how you do it. You want the war on drugs? Then let's fight it like a war and not like a law enforcement operation. That's what's going on now, and he's winning it.
Well, you know, Mike, I'll tell you something. And so this next video I'm going to show you, this is a person, and normally I'm not a person who posts like videos from randos talking about issues because I'm like, well, who is this person? What do they know? But I fact checked everything in this video, and I will tell you right now, it makes an excellent point. And what he really does is, what she really does is tie the link. It basically talks about how, yes, it is terrorism. It really ties the link between drugs, narcotics, and terrorism, and how they have always been linked.
Drug smuggling is not terrorism.
Let me go ahead and help you fill in the gaps, since clearly your dentist and your research both clocked out early. Every major terror group tied to U.S. national security has been caught running drug operations. DEA's Project Cassandra proved that Hezbollah had been running global cocaine trafficking to fund terror cells. FARC was designated a foreign terror organization because 60% of their operations were funded by cocaine. The Taliban controlled 85% of the world's opium before 2021, and ISIS funded attacks using heroin routes across Central Asia. You see, that drug money pays for the bombs, weapons, and attacks. But sure, it's not terrorism. Bless your heart, Toothless. Because there is actually literally an entire category in federal law called narco-terrorism. It's not called kind of terrorism. It's not called maybe terrorism. It's called narcotics terrorism. And under U.S. Code 2331 and 2332B, terrorism includes dangerous acts, crossing borders, and supporting violent groups. Drug trafficking that finances those violent organizations equals terrorism. That's not the conservatives' definition. That is the federal definition. And these little drug boats that you're crying over are run by Tren de Aragua, a transnational criminal organization based out of Venezuela, ELN, which are armed insurgents, FARC descendants, and cartel partners operating from the Venezuelan coastline. These are paramilitary smuggling units, not fishermen with side hustle. And the U.S. isn't the only country dealing with them. Brazil, Colombia, Panama, and Netherlands have all used lethal force against these exact same vessels. And would you like to know why? Because most often they fire upon law enforcement, they ram interceptors, they take hostages, they run weapons, and they smuggle terror-linked individuals through the Caribbean corridor. Oh, but wait, there's more that missing tooth hasn't told you. The Maduro regime actively protects these cartel and paramilitary networks, which is why the Treasury, the DEA, and the DOJ have classified parts of the Venezuelan government for narco-terrorism, weapons trafficking, and state-backed cartel operations. And these groups have been recognized as narco-terrorists going all the way back to the 80s and the 90s, decades before Trump ever even touched them in 2025. And that's the tooth that you're missing. This was fun. Have a day.
Like I said, I normally don't post those videos from randos, but I that was a mic drop right there.
That was good. She did it. She got her stuff down. Yep.
But that's the point. Is the reality is that most of these terror organizations, they fund their operations through drugs, and in South America it's drugs and oil, and in the Middle East it's drugs and oil. So it's drugs and oil is what they use to fund their terrorist operations. So yeah, no, not only do we not want them actually killing our people with these drugs, but we also don't want them to use the finances that they get from these drugs to continue to engage in terrorist acts around the world.
I'll have to send you some pictures of when I was in Afghanistan. We've got photos of us standing in front of just opium field after opium field, and we weren't allowed to do anything about it because that was the only way that they had the ability to make money. So they let them keep their opium fields.
Yeah, that once again makes absolutely no sense, especially when you know where the money is going to go.
Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, they tried to supplement it and bring them a new crop. They tried to bring them corn because, that's what the world needs is good Afghani dirt corn.
Good Afghani dirt corn. All right, now, well, that debunks just one of the other like wrongful myths that the left generally has. And one of the other myths that the left generally tends to have is that, well, gun-free zones actually prevent violence. And well, there's one thing. Oh no, I'm sorry. I moved on to the wrong story. Here's the other story. I'm sorry. We'll get into the whole evidence that gun-free zones don't work because it is tied to Brown University. But in this particular case, there is information that is going out around. First of all, there were 2 victims that were killed at Brown University, and it turns out that one of those Brown University students happened to be the vice president of the college Republicans there at Brown. Now, you might recall Brown is one of the most woke universities in the country. I mean, it's hard to describe or hard to think of many universities that are worse than this. And they're the ones that come out with the list every year of words that you can and cannot say. Well, here at Fox News, they kind of outline that one of the students turned out to be a Republican leader. It says here, a vice president of the college Republicans and an aspiring neurosurgeon have been identified as the 2 students killed in the mass shooting at Brown University on Saturday. Ella Cook of Birmingham, Alabama, and Muhammad Aziz, I'm not going to try and say that last name, of Virginia, were named the 2 students killed when gunmen opened fire inside the classroom in the Barras and Holly Engineering Building on the campus of the University in Providence, Rhode Island. 9 other students were wounded. Let's see here. Anyway, suffice to say, one of the students turned out to be a college Republican or vice president of college Republicans. And so now, because people have pointed that out, you now have folks like, for example, this Edith Olmsted over at Yahoo News, basically saying MAGA spreads dangerous conspiracy about Brown University shooter. Now, it says here, MAGA Republicans are already pushing conspiracy theories about the shooting at Brown University over the weekend, claiming that one of the victims was targeted because of her beliefs. A sophomore student, Ella Cook, was one of 2 people killed Saturday when the shooter opened fire during a review session for an economics exam. The gunman has not been taken into custody or identified, but the victims have, and apparently all MAGA thought they needed to crack the case. Now, Mike, I once again, I spent a decent amount of time with conservative media, and I see folks pointing it out, but I don't see anybody. I haven't seen anybody, in particular, anybody in the media pointing out or trying to say, yeah, this is the reason, the definitive reason why this shooting took place.
No, nobody. I looked at a half a dozen sources, Craig. Nobody has insinuated that at all. It's just, again, the left reaching for how can we lie and make the left or make the right look bad? That's all it is. It's their version of, lie, deny, make counter accusations. Here we have to make the right look bad in this, because we know that we'll get to it, right? That the policy of a gun-free zone caused this to happen.
Right. Well, it falls along the lines of the narrative most of the media winds up doing. It's like something happens and the news becomes conservatives notice. Conservatives call it out. And all I've ever seen people say is she was a vice president of college Republicans and she was one of 2 students killed. I mean, this was an attack that took place. It was on a Saturday night in a lecture hall where they were studying. Now, if you were looking to do, if this were a traditional mass casualty, mass shooter event, they would be looking for the maximum number of people that they could take out. And this would not have been the target. I think it's not hard to say that this was targeted. Do we know who the target was, or do we know why they were targeted? No, but I think it's safe. I think it's a pretty safe assumption that this was a targeted attack.
Yeah, and I'd point out the left is calling this a mass shooting, right? When it doesn't even fit their own definition of a mass shooting.
No, it doesn't, because 4 people have not been killed.
Right.
And when they talk about the injuries, they don't even say, well, okay, 9 people were injured. Were all 9 shot, or were some of them injured basically trying to duck for cover?
Right. Sure.
They don't tell you any of that. What I'm finding interesting is just how poor the response was there. And how do you on a college campus not be able to have one single camera that could pick this person up?
Because cameras are an intrusion on our First Amendment rights.
Oh, well, there you go. Anyway, there's a lot more to be seen. There's a lot more to be heard. I'm hoping that we get some sort of something on this. I mean, I know that they're looking at metadata, but I'm thinking this person seems like they were so well organized that I don't know that at this point, I don't know if they don't have enough evidence or they don't have enough to catch a person. What's the likelihood, Mike, that they do finally catch the person?
Once Kash Patel and his folks get up there, they'll find out who this is. I'm not putting down the Rhode Island State Police or the Brown Police Department or anything, Brown College Police Department, but the resources there are just not what the feds have.
Well, I know that the metadata and whatnot that they were using in order to identify the person of interest that they picked up was based on the metadata. And the fact that dude was armed didn't help. But what wound up happening was, as they tried to apply evidence at the scene, the evidence at the scene ruled him out.
Yeah. And listen, I got no problem with them reacting to that. You go with what you have on hand and you try and develop it as quick as you can, Right. But, now it's the follow through. We got to see how with the follow through investigation.
Really interested to see how that follow through goes. But, would really love to know a motive for this, other than just because I'm not saying that the person wasn't crazy. I'm just saying that it sounds like they were crazy after somebody specific.
Yeah, well, it'll be one of 2 things, right? We know that based on what we've seen before. It's either going to be there was somebody targeted, was one of the 2 killed or one of the 9 wounded, or this was some crazy person with a gun. That's just all there is to it.
True that. All right, we know anyone who has half a brain knows that sanctuary policies are dangerous. And it seems like, or it appears like, at least in places like California, there are some cities that are finally starting to realize that. This piece here over at the California Globe is exactly what they're pointing out. It says here sanctuary policies, sanctuary policies. Every time I hear about these, I tense up. How could I not? I know that some cities put these in place merely for their own protection in the name of public safety and resource allocation. But the truth is, they do more damage than you might think. For those unfamiliar, sanctuary policies basically limit cooperation between city, state, police, and federal immigration authorities. Now, why these policies are put in place is beyond me, but but mostly they're set up by leaders who feel they're safer having them around. But we see examples in the past that these policies have come back to bite these leaders in the rear. And there's a huge incident in Washington that's too scary to ignore. Last week, a commercial truck driver ended up being arrested for causing a six-car pileup in Lacey, including a school bus. Unfortunately, fortunately, there were no casualties involved, but there could have been. And had sanctuary policy not gotten in the way, it never would have happened. Now, Mike, keep in mind, Mike, this is on top of this is on top of at least three incidents that we know of where an individual with a California driver's license, in two cases they were commercial driver's licenses, wound up killing people, wound up engaging in driving, and in two of the cases could barely speak English. And all of these are the result of sanctuary policies. When we look at people who are being raped and being mugged, when we look at robberies that are taking place, when we look at what's taking place right now and the $1 billion scam that's taking place up there in Minnesota. Once again, sanctuary policies are the result of all of these things that are going on. And finally, some local municipalities are starting to realize it. And not so much that they are starting to realize it, but their voters are starting to realize it.
Yeah, and again, the left's going to try and muddy that image and let you know that the sanctuary cities provide peace and happiness. But every time, Craig, where does this occur? Where does it occur?
Yeah, and here's the interesting part. Here's the other interesting part is, and you and I have talked about this before. Where these like right now they're talking about all of these raids that are taking place at like Home Depots and people who are being arrested in parks and stuff like that. You notice those raids are largely happening in places that are sanctuaries where where law enforcement has been told you cannot work with ICE. So they're not going to the jails to pick these folks up. They're having to get them where they can find them in public.
Right.
So I'm like, well, if you wake up and you realize that, then why don't you just hand over the criminal aliens? Once again, the initial people who they are looking for are people who have either been arrested for a crime, accused of a crime, or have committed crimes, or even been convicted of crimes and are here illegally in the United States, or have already had detainers already issued against them, and they're supposed to be deported. That's who they are looking for. Now, if you happen to be in the country illegally and they come across you, they're going to take you too. They're not looking for you, but you're a bonus. I don't understand why people don't understand that.
How many times we got to make the analogy out here, Craig? I went fishing looking for bass, looking for largemouth bass, but I reeled in a catfish and they're legal to keep, so I'm going to keep it.
Not hard to figure out.
Yep.
You didn't go there looking for catfish.
Yep.
But it's a bonus.
That's right.
Fry it up.
Yep. That's it.
But some of it though is they refuse to see the difference.
Well,
and
they
that's, I
refuse
think,
to
one of the
admit
things
it.
that really bugs me.
They refuse to admit it because they don't want any part of being on admitting defeat.
No, you are 100% correct. They do not want to admit defeat. And It is amazing. One of the superpowers of Donald Trump is he has been able to get the left to support all sorts of abhorrent things. I mean, he's got them supporting transing the kids, giving, sex changes for children, sex changes for criminal illegal aliens, porn in schools, public schools. They're supporting drug cartels. I mean, you name it, he's got them supporting criminal illegal aliens. I mean, he's literally got them supporting some of the most outlandish stuff out there.
Yeah.
That's got to be a superpower.
It is. It's a Trumpian power.
It is definitely a Trumpian power. Ugh. Anyway, you would think that they would have learned by now. Anyway, one of the things, and I just wanted to have this conversation. So, for those of you who do not know, and if you've been watching the show, you know, Australia has some of the strictest gun laws in the entire world. They've literally made it so that it's very, very difficult to own a firearm. There's certain requirements that you have to meet. It's a lot to go through it and be able to own a firearm. And so it's basically one of the largest gun-free zones in the entire world. And then you have Brown University, which is a college university, which is also a gun-free zone, a place where you are not allowed to own or possess a firearm or carry a firearm. And Mike, I cannot help but think in both cases of both these shootings, what difference could have been made had individuals been there and been armed? We probably would have the assailant in custody, or he would be dead at Brown University, and a lot fewer people would have been injured, and a lot less people would still be alive there at Bondi Beach, where they shot for 20 minutes. The shooting went on for 20 minutes, and the law enforcement officers that were there, who, by the way, I believe were unarmed, did nothing.
Well, Greg, I'll say this: there's no guarantee that an armed person there would have been able to stop the incidents. However, we'll never know because they were disarmed. They were disarmed and not given the rights granted to them by our maker for self-defense were taken away from them. So we'll never know.
Well, and that's the point. We will never know. All I do know is this, is that in every single, if you look at all of the data says the number one thing that stops a shooting that stops a mass casualty event is when someone, law enforcement or a citizen, armed citizen, when someone who is armed shows up, the sooner they show up, the sooner the shooting stops. Because people who start to engage in activities like this, the first thing they do is they become cowards and run once they meet resistance. There's got to be that resistance. And unfortunately, when you don't have someone who can meet force with force, well, that emboldens people to do this. They look for these places, they look for these opportunities. And once again, we don't know what the motive was behind the Brown University shooting, but we definitely know what the cause is there over in Australia. It clearly was the guns, right?
Yeah, right. Listen, a step further. If they had been allowed not only to carry, but to open carry, shootings may not have occurred at all. Bad guy would show up and go, look, there's a guy that can end this. We don't want this to end, so we're going to leave. We're going to postpone this or do it somewhere else.
When you consider the fact that the Jewish community in Australia had been for quite a while now really coming out and talking about the dangers of anti-Semitism that had been rising there. I mean, you literally in 2023, you had pro-Palestinian folks who were marching in the streets there in Australia, saying "gas the Jews."
Yeah.
That would lead me to believe that that there might be a little danger. Now, you're telling me that if they had the opportunity to be able to be armed and defend themselves, they wouldn't have on a public event like that?
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable when you think about it. Oh. It really is.
Well, and the solution being offered by folks is to is to go ahead and well, now we're going to make it so that we're not going to make the permit permanent. So now you're going to have to re-up your permit, and we're going to limit how many guns you can purchase.
Yeah, that would have stopped them. Clearly, that would have stopped them.
Yeah, that would have clearly stopped them. Oh, by the way, did you also hear that the son was actually had been investigated just like a year or two before because of ties to a potential terrorist organization?
What? I can't believe that, Craig. That's got to be more lies from the left.
Well, that I don't know what to tell you, but yeah, yes. So once again, another instance where they knew dude was potentially a problem. Well, at least one of them was potentially a problem. Now, he was not the one who was permitted to own the guns, but one would have thought, gee, maybe we need to check out relatives just in case.
Yeah, I wonder where he learned this ideology from.
It just popped into his head, I'm sure. I'm sure it just popped into his head. All right, folks, that now brings us to our parting shots. Parting shots are brought to you by Hog Holsters. Just go to hogholsters.com. Use the discount code of The Rundown, all caps, no spaces. Get your Hog Holster today. All right, these first few are going to be brought to you by the folks over at the Babylon Beef, fake news that you can trust. This first one here. To halt violence against Jews, Australia bans Hanukkah.
Yeah, there you go. That'll solve it. Perfect.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
Sounds like a reasonable solution to me.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, here's one. Here we go. Groundbreaking new study finds Islamophobia may be partially caused by Muslims killing people all the time.
I don't know. They might have a point, right?
All I know is this, is that I know that there are, I don't want to say all I know, but what I know is this, is that there are peaceful Muslims. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that there's no such thing as a peaceful Muslim because they actually do exist, right? My problem though is that when you read the Quran, and I haven't read a lot of the Quran, but I've read enough to know that they got no problem with killing people who don't believe what they believe. In fact, they promote it, or at least their religion promotes it. That's so if someone actually does it, is that considered Islamic extremism? Or are they just, or is that mainstream Islam? I don't know.
Little fact, Craig. I burned several hundred copies of the Quran.
We've heard this story before.
When I was in Afghanistan, their military was becoming computer literate, and they did not have any copies of the Quran on CDs. So we took it to our mass CD burner, and I burned them several hundred copies of the Quran so they could have it.
Yeah. True that. All right, here's one. All right, after being charged with multiple felonies, former Michigan coach Sharon Moore is forced to move to the NFL.
Yeah, he'll probably do pretty good there. Maybe the Cowboys looking for a coach?
Yeah, he'll fit right in, won't he? Anyway.
I know the Jets are.
All right, this last one I wanted to share with you guys, because I want to, you guys, hold on, let me bring both, let me come up, put myself up here real quick. So I want to just say this. After the death of Rob Reiner, Donald Trump sent out a truth that, how do I want to put it? It was tongue-in-cheek, very critical of very critical. It was, in my opinion, it was inappropriate, right? But and a lot of people out there are defending it. And here I want to share this one right here with you. It says here, maybe Trump would have been nicer if they hadn't tried to assassinate him, put him in jail, raid his house, falsely accuse him of being a traitor, sue him for supposedly attracting an ugly, ugly broad that we all know was ugly and not his type, going through his wife's knickers, yada yada yada. Anyway, Trump didn't.
What are the big part there? Wait, you forgot the most important part. And call him a Nazi every single day.
Oh yeah, call him a Nazi every single day. They didn't he didn't unalive the guy. He didn't kill the guy. So as a Trump supporter, it would bother me more if Trump had praised him The dude is no longer here. He was a lot nicer, yada, yada, yada. So anyway, I guess my problem is, and I think this is where, and I will say this because I have been critical of excusing the comment. I've been critical of both the comment and not very happy with those who've excused it. But I guess maybe what I would have liked to see instead is people. I mean, here's the thing: you don't have to explain why Trump did it because I agree with the reasons why Trump did it, and he had every right to feel that way. My whole thing about the whole thing is, I'm like, he's president of the United States. He's supposed to be bigger than that, and he wasn't. Do I believe that that means that I can no longer support him or have his back? No, it just means I'm disappointed. And there are clearly people out there who are not, and you have every right to not be.
And I am not. Listen, he is the president. He's also a man. And for years, they have done everything, including try to kill him. From harassing him to calling him names to raiding his house to trying to put him in jail to putting him on trial to trying to kill him. The left has done this, and now the left wants him to be sympathetic. Sorry, you're lucky that's all you got.
I would have preferred for him to just say nothing. I really would have preferred for him to say nothing.
I think he's at the top of our representation. Something needed to be said. Listen, I put Reiner in the same category as I put De Niro and Clooney. Listen, I enjoyed their bodies of work before they went crazy, with the Trump derangement syndrome and felt it was okay to bash him every day. Sorry.
Yeah. No, and I once again, I don't disagree. And I expect that from John Q. Citizen. I personally expect more from my president. Disappointed, but like I said, I'm not disappointed enough to where I'm going to throw him under the bus. And people are like, well, I'm off the Trump train. I'm like, look, you guys, come on now. Really?
I think you hit it right on the head, though. Trump represents John Q. Citizen.
Well, he does. And sadly, and this is what I tell folks. I'm like, look, you can be mad at him for what he said, but this is the reason why he got elected president. And I don't know what to tell you. This is you get what you get. There's no mystery. Whoever was surprised by that comment, I'm like, have you not been paying attention?
Yeah.
But I think that once again, people have every right to both criticize him for it. That doesn't mean you don't like him. It doesn't mean that you don't support him. It just means you don't like that thing that he did.
Yep.
And I'm sorry, no one's perfect. I'm sure that I have done things that my wife does not like.
Oh, I can name some.
I'm sure you can.
I got pictures.
No, you don't.
Just kidding.
Right. But here's the thing, folks. Here's the thing that I really want to do is let's not let that be a reason to divide. Because here's the thing: the left is looking for a reason for us to fight. Let's not fight over that, please.
Yeah.
Right. Let's not fight over it.
Yeah.
I just get mad because sometimes I feel like we spend more time fighting each other than we do fighting the left.
Yep. The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
There you go. All right, folks, that brings us to the end of our program. But before we go, we're going to give one more quick shout out to our sponsors.
Yep, Hitman Industries, hitmanindustries.net. Listen, they got great specials going on for Christmas. Get on over there. Check them out, hitmanindustries.net. You can get all kinds of barrels. They got rifle barrels, pistol barrels, everything you need. That's hitmanindustries.net. California Republican Assembly fighting a good fight behind enemy lines. Now you can take part in California's future today. And if you want the best in field gear, tactical gear, web gear, law enforcement, security, fire, EMS, whatever it may be, get your group together, get your agency together, place an order at uscombatgear.com where you can get everything except the gun.
All right, folks, so that's going to be it for today's program. We will be back tomorrow on Throat Punch Thursday. Till then, y'all have fun, stay safe, and we will see y'all on
Tomorrow's Wednesday, though, Craig.
Tomorrow is Wednesday. Dude, my week has been all jacked up. It just really has. I don't know what. Yeah. Hi, Jolly Pies. We'll see you tomorrow on Hump Day.